if you can see that, that is a picture of my wife, Bridget, who you just saw. Lewis, our youngest, who's in the back. You might hear him in a minute. And then Jensen, who's 6. He's at Sunset Elementary. I'm really excited to get the chance to talk to you. This is what it's all about for me. So I just want to make sure that's clear and concise right off the bat. I love my job. I love MWI, and I love the work that I do. But 100%, there can be no question about it, this is what is important to me. I make sure that I know that every day when I start my day. I make sure that my employees know that in meetings. I tell them that regularly. Hey, I love MWI. It's awesome, but my faith and my family come first. So there we go. So today I want to talk about a couple things. I'm going to tell you about the journey that I've had since I was a student here at MWI. Dad, you don't need to record the whole thing because we're going to have a video of it after. My dad's here. I just got like a flashback of like a 3rd grade play, and my dad's in the back with like the big thing. My dad's awesome. That would have been a lot. It would have like 10 gigs of data for this one thing. It's all about family for me. I try to build that into my company as much as I can. Not just that it's important that my family, my personal family, and my personal faith are important to me, but to find that for each one of my employees as well. I want them to be fulfilled. I want them to enjoy their lives, and I want MWI to be a big part of that, but not the part of that, the only part of that. So I want to get that out in the open right off the bat. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about other things. But I think if there's one thing that I would ask any of you to take away from this, it's that my family and my faith are the most important thing to me. And if you want my humble opinion, it better be the same for you. If it's not, figure it out. Prioritize. So we're going to talk a little bit about priorities. We're going to talk about how I run a digital marketing agency in 2017. I'll try to introduce you a little bit to what digital marketing is. I spot some digital marketing experts in here that are in my class. If you have any questions about digital marketing, they know everything about it, so go to them. This is my family. I'm going to go introduce you to a few other people real quick. I started to put together a PowerPoint. I hate PowerPoint. I need to get better at it. I started to put it together, and then I was like, why would I take a screenshot of the pictures on Instagram and then put them into a PowerPoint? That seemed like a waste of time. I'll just pull up my Instagram account. So that's what I'm doing. This is MWI's page. We're killing it with 408 followers. I want to introduce you to a couple of the team members again as we get going, and you can kind of see. I think you can tell a lot about a company by what their Instagram looks like, what they do. Let's see. I want to introduce you to somebody. There's Josh. I think there's a better video of Josh. Where are you at? We're going to find it. Oh, where is it? This is Josh Steimley. I'll just go with this. No, I want to find the other. You're going to hear his name a couple times. Josh is my business partner. He's a super awesome guy. I love Josh. I've got a lot to thank Josh for. We're just going to go with the picture because I can't find the awesome video. What I was going to show you, maybe this is why you do PowerPoint, was a video of Josh and I in China on the way to church on a moped together. And if that doesn't tell you about like partnership and, you know, I don't know what does. So this is Josh Steimley. He is the founder of MWI, the agency that I run, okay? I'm going to give you a brief history of MWI, and then I'm going to talk about what I call MWI 2.0, which is when I came in. So MWI started in 1999 as a digital marketing agency. Back in 1999, many of you, I think everybody was alive. That was 18 years ago. Some of you were maybe born in 1999. I don't know. But it started as a digital marketing agency that built websites for people. It actually technically started as a design agency, so it designed websites for people. Josh is a designer. He then started building websites for people, and then as the internet continued to evolve, people said, hey, these search engines are pretty important. How many of you have used a search engine today? Okay, you get the idea. So these businesses are like, hey, we've got this great business, we've got this local business, whatever the business might be, and we've got a website. Okay, we got a website. We made that happen. But now how do people find us? So Josh, in about 2003 or 2004, pivoted. He pivoted and he decided, I'm going to make MWI not just a design and a development agency, but I'm going to make it a digital marketing agency. I am going to help people find other people's businesses, and by so doing, I think people will pay me for that. Because the yellow pages, does anybody not know what the yellow pages are? Oh, I would have guessed there was at least one. Give me 5 years and there will be a lot of people that don't know what the yellow pages are. The yellow pages used to be the way that you found businesses, right? You said, oh, I need a chiropractor, and you look in and you find a chiropractor in the yellow pages and you call them. Google, Yelp, all of these things, search engines have taken that over. So Josh pivoted and he changed things up. He kept MWI running for quite some time. He built a really good brand for himself in the state of Utah. He had a lot of people that knew who he was. He had a blog that started to gain a following, but MWI was never that big or successful. And Josh would agree with that. I'm not talking bad about Josh. He would agree. It was never that successful. He continued to transition and evolve. Josh is an entrepreneur through and through. When I talk about entrepreneurship, I talk about clouds and dirt. Josh is in the clouds. He's an entrepreneur that's in the clouds. He loves ideas and thinking of ways to make things better. And then there's the dirt entrepreneur that loves to get in and make it happen. We'll come back to that in a minute. Josh is a clouds guy. MWI was successful, was moderately successful, was okay. Fast forward a little bit. In 2012, I moved to Hawaii, started school, got my associate's degree at UVU, started school at BYU Hawaii. I just skipped a whole lot, but for time, we'll leave it at that. I started school at BYU Hawaii, and I didn't know what I wanted to do. I had started school at UVU, like I said, in Utah. I loved being educated, but I didn't know what I was trying to figure out, how does this education thing that I'm supposed to get and I've been told I'm supposed to do, how does that relate to providing for a family at some point? Because I didn't want to be a doctor. I didn't want to be a lawyer. I didn't want to be a dentist. At one point, and Bridget will attest to this, I did want to be those all at one point. I wanted to be everything at one point or another. I had pretty much said that I was going to do everything, and I couldn't quite nail it down. So I decided, via a personal experience studying and praying, I decided that if I went back to school, I would only do it if it was going to be something that I was passionate about. And I felt a pretty clear and concise prompting, I can say that to this audience, that if I just did what I was passionate about, and I had faith in that, then everything else would work out. So I nailed down what I was passionate about, and I started doing research. I didn't just have that feeling, and then I was like, okay, that'll happen. I had that feeling, and then I acted. I started doing research. I started looking. And I found this program at BYU Hawaii. It's the only place that I could find it. I think it's the only place that it's offered, called International Culture Studies. I'm a military kid. I grew up, my dad back here, he was in the Air Force. I was born in Utah at Hill Air Force Base. I moved to South Carolina. I lived in Japan as a kid for a couple years. I lived in Germany for the bulk of my adolescence, and then he retired, and I moved to St. George, Utah. Culture shock. Germany to St. George, Utah. We could talk about that for a while, but we won't. So I loved culture. I loved international relationships, and I love how people communicate. I've always been passionate about that. I served my mission in Guatemala. I learned another language. I had learned a little bit of German, and I knew that I just loved people, how they interacted, how they interfaced, how they communicated, and how they solved problems. And so I found this major, International Culture Studies, which I don't think it's called that anymore. They changed things up a little bit. But I decided I'm going to do ICS, International Culture Studies, with a communications emphasis, and I had to pick a sub-emphasis, so I decided to do Anthropology, because that's all about how people interact and how cultures have evolved and changed in societies and yada, yada. I loved it. I was like, man, I don't know anything else that could nail me down exactly what I want to do more than that. I had no idea what I would do with an ICS degree. I didn't know, but I had to have faith that if I got an ICS degree, because that's what I felt like I needed to do, everything else would work out. So I dove into International Culture Studies. I loved it. I can honestly say that from the first class I had at BYU Hawaii to the last, I loved all of them. And because I was studying something that I was passionate about, I enjoyed doing the work. If I had been trying to force myself to being a doctor or something, doing stuff that I just can't stand, it wouldn't have worked. I wouldn't have been happy. It just wouldn't have worked. So I was passionate about it, I loved it, and it was awesome. Going into my last, I think my last year, and Jason referenced this a little bit, but I was introduced to the Entrepreneurship Center, to the Willis Center for Entrepreneurship, which I will say, coming back to the school as a missionary and participating in faculty meetings and being a part of the other side of it, I never quite understood how much the faculty and administration and the teachers at BYU Hawaii love the students. That was first and foremost. I was like, man, They really are. Like, it's not just something you hear. They really, when they pray, when we discuss things, it's all about how can we make these amazing students grow and thrive and succeed. And it's inspiring and it's awesome. The Willis Center for International Entrepreneurship is awesome. I've had a lot of students tell me that, that they love the entrepreneurship program and they haven't seen anything else like it when they talk to friends at other schools. I think it's really cool that we have entrepreneurs and residents who have experience, who can come in and talk to you and give you advice and are passionate about that. I'm in room 248. If you ever want to talk to me about your business or your ideas, come over. I'd love to talk with you. But I met Jason kind of on a fluke, and he said, and I jumped into one of Jason's classes. And then he told me there was these entrepreneurship classes. So I said, I took a class from Paul Wilson, an SEO class. At this point, I had already started an SEO agency, and I was taking an SEO class because I didn't really know what it was. So we're going to talk about that a little bit. Going back to Josh, okay? Josh started an agency in 2013. To set a timeline, it was at 0. Josh had packed up and moved to Hong Kong. His website was pretty much dormant. He hadn't been adding content to it, hadn't really been doing anything. There was no clients. He had passed all of his clients off to a previous partner or contractor that he had worked with, and MWI was back at 0. He reached out to me and asked me to help with some business development. My background is in sales and business development, culture, stuff like that. So he said, hey, can you help me build a sales process for this program that I'm running? It was not MWI, it was separate. I said, sure, I'll help you out. So I built out a sales process for him. As I built out that sales process for him, at some point, and I can't really nail down the exact moment, but at some point in that process, an MWI lead popped up. And I was like, hey, what's this MWI thing? He's like, it's a digital marketing agency. We do like SEO and stuff, but I don't have any clients right now. I passed it off. And I had heard of MWI. I knew what it was because I grew up knowing what it was, but I didn't know what it did. I had no idea what SEO was. And I saw an opportunity because we got a lead for it. So somebody's finding it and interested in it. So I saw an opportunity, and I told Josh, I said, hey, man, I'm in school. I've got some time. I'm trying to find a way to make some extra money. We're broke. Anything I can do to help with this MWI thing, let me know. And he said, great. Build a sales process for that too, and let me know if anything comes from it. I started doing my research. I started reading. I started figuring out what this digital marketing world was. And I asked him, I said, hey, do you have any list of people that you've talked to in the past? Do you have any sort of content that you can give me, or phone numbers, emails that I can start reaching out to? And he said, yeah, I actually have run some marketing campaigns in the past. I've got email addresses. I've got phone numbers. Have at it. I mean, you can imagine Josh like, oh, this is great. Somebody's wanting to call these people. I'll go for it. So I started waking up every morning. I had classes usually at like 8 or whatever. I started waking up every morning at 4:30 or 5, and I dedicated myself to an hour or two every single morning of cold calling this list and asking and talking to them about digital marketing, talking to them about how bad their website was and that they need a new one, and just kind of going at it. And that's how we closed our first couple deals at MWI. Connections that I made through phone calls, and then them calling me back and talking to me and getting the deals. The first couple deals we closed were like $750 a month for SEO work, which I thought was unbelievable. It's like, man, we're killing it. $750 a month, and I'm getting a commission on that. Let's do this. So we kept going. And it's really funny. Last night as I was kind of finalizing preparation for this, I was going through my old Google Docs, and I found a podcast that I did in Jason Earl's class a couple years ago that was in my Google Docs, right next to an article that I had read and saved about what SEO was, right next to the first mailing list or email list that I had that I was sending emails out to. And I was like, man, this is crazy. This is awesome to go back. It's kind of like a journal of the journey there. And then something happened. So I closed the first couple deals. Like Jason said, I realized all I need is an internet connection, and I didn't even have a laptop. I had an iPad. All I need is an internet connection and an iPad, and I can start a business. If you were to tell our ancestors that, even going back like not very long, the access that we have to start business and be entrepreneurs in 2017 is mind-boggling. They literally would not be able to wrap their mind around it. I have this little thing that I can type anything into, and it gives me all this data and information, and then it gives me phone numbers, it gives me email addresses, it gives me whatever, and I can call anybody, and I can try to start a business. It's unreal. So we started a business, and then something happened. This is important, especially if you're into digital marketing. Josh, because he had worked, you always hear about overnight successes, and you hear like they're not really. MWI is a great example of that. People are like, oh, you've built this agency up in 3 years. Sure, we've kind of built it up in 3 years, but Josh had been plugging away and writing blogs for 17 years. And because he had been plugging away and writing blogs about digital marketing, Forbes approached him and said, somebody that already writes for us found out that you have this amazing blog. We love your content. We just saw that you moved to Hong Kong. That happened at one point. I don't think I said that yet. Josh moved to Hong Kong. And we'd love it if you could write on entrepreneurship in Asia at Forbes. Josh is like, wow, that's amazing. Sure, I'll pick it up. So he started writing for Forbes. And then we built a specific marketing campaign to create content for Forbes that would push people to our website. And then once we had people coming to our website, I built out a customized solution, a customized sales process that would convert the traffic from Forbes into MWI customers. And bam, we grew by 1,000% in like 6 months. So overnight success, sure, took a lot of work. I was coming yesterday I had a meeting. We have a group of interns at BYU Hawaii right now. And I had a meeting with them in the conference room at the end of this hall. At the end of the hall here, and I brought them onto the conference room, and we sat down, and I had another one of those flashback moments. I used to wake up at 4:30 when we lived in TVA, and I'd walk over to the school, and I may or may not have had access to the building at that time, but I would sneak in, and I'd come up to the conference room in there, and I would work, and I would cold call from there. And yesterday I brought in these interns, and I sat down at the table, and I'm like, hey, this is a little piece of MWI history. Let's talk about it. It was pretty funny. So we started a business, okay? So I hope you understand that there was a lot of work that went into it, but the internet's an amazing thing. And if you've got ideas, there's ways to research and study and turn those ideas and that hustle and that drive and that passion into an actual business. It's a lot easier now than it used to be. It still takes a ton of work, but it's a lot easier now than it used to be. We started closing deals. From that conference room down there, I can still remember. I remember exactly where I was when I closed certain deals, and those deals are still part of MWI today. Clients that we still work with. And we decided we talked after a couple months, and we were like, hey, we've got this little company now. What do we want to do with it? What's the next step? And so, I guess a little bit of information that's important is all of the deals that I was closing at this time, I was outsourcing to a company in Utah, a third-party company, okay? They were doing all the fulfillment work for us. So I would sell an SEO plan, I would hand it off to these guys, and they would do the work, and I would take a percentage. It's kind of like a lead generation thing, more than it was we were actually a digital marketing agency. So we talked about it and said, do we want to do lead generation? Is this what we want to do? Or do we want to actually become a company? And I still remember Josh and I being on the phone for 4 hours at a time, literally 4 hours at a time, talking about everything from just everything, trying to decide what we wanted to turn this into. Because we were both ambitious. We knew we could turn it into something. We just didn't quite know what that was going to be. And so we decided on a whim, after a lot of phone conversations, we said, and at this point, we were probably doing $40,000 a month in business or something. We had quite a few clients, maybe 6 or 7 clients, 8 clients, 10 clients, somewhere in there. And we decided we're going to take what we've got, this little lead generation thing where I close deals and then I hand it off, and we're actually going to build an agency. Now, if you're taking business classes, if you've started a business, you understand that that's kind of a big jump. Because we went from being the guys that bring in the business and close the deal to handing it off to get it done to the guys that were actually going to fulfill on all the work. So you can imagine that puts a lot of pressure on us, not to mention actually hiring employees and building out a culture and getting benefits for everybody and figuring out payroll every month and yada, yada. This was all still before I graduated. But we decided we wanted to do something. We wanted to make the world a better place through a digital marketing agency, and we wanted to do 2 things. One, we wanted to build an agency. We wanted to build a company where the best talent in our world, in our digital marketing world, where the best talent would want to bring their talents, where they would want to bring their expertise. So culture, right? We wanted to build an amazing culture. We wanted to build a place where people wanted to work. The second thing we decided is we wanted to build a company where the greatest companies that need digital marketing would want to bring their work to us. If we could do those 2 things, we were going to be happy. We'd be stoked if we could get the best people to come work for us and work with amazing clients. You'll notice that the conversation wasn't how much money do we make and how fast. For Josh and I, it's all about the relationships. It's all about the people, okay, like I referenced at the very beginning. Some people are more important to me than others, as I showed you at the beginning. But people is what motivates me. People and trying to build an environment where amazing people and amazing companies could bring their business. So overnight, we decided, starting tomorrow, we're going to fire our contractors, and we are going to hire in-house. It's about a 2-week period, really, because I had to go out and interview. So we blasted on like every hiring website you can, and I said, I need a digital marketing expert, and I need a website developer. And so we interviewed a couple people. Again, mind you, this is me. Now I'm interviewing people who are going to depend on me to provide like benefits and money every month. I'm doing this from the conference room at 5 in the morning. And I'm interviewing people, or I'm doing it from my house, like, honey, take Jensen. We only had Jensen one time. Take Jensen and go for a walk, because I've got an important business call. Bridget would always laugh back when we were first doing this, because every time what did I do? I can't remember. Every time I came out of the room and I had closed a deal, did I go boo whoop or something like that? I can't remember. I did something. Like I'd be in the room and she'd be out there with Jensen, and I'd be in there just working and working and working. And I'd come out of the room and I'd do some sort of dumb dance or something. And she's like, got another deal closed, Woo, we got another one. As we were building the company. Little tidbit there. But we interviewed, we hired, and we went for it. We jumped right in. We jumped in with both feet. We got rid of the contractors. We said, we're going to build a company. We're going to build a real strong culture. That was probably about June of 2014, July of 2014. I graduated in August 2014. By the time I graduated, I had set some number goals for myself. I want to be doing this much in revenue by the time I graduate, and I want to have this many employees if we're going to do this. And we hit them. We hit the goals. So I'm pretty excited leaving school and going. We decided to go back to Arizona, where Bridget's from and where her family's at, and we started to build the agency from there. And since then, we grew in the U.S. We've worked with a lot of big companies, some not huge. We're not really in like the Fortune 100 or 500, but companies that you may have heard of, like the Barracks or Beard Brand, Sorensen Capital, other cool companies that we've done a lot of work for. And then we realized that there was a huge opportunity in Asia, because Josh had moved to Hong Kong for a completely separate reason. Josh had moved to Hong Kong to adopt a child from China. So we wanted to be closer to that process. But we realized that there was a huge opportunity. As Josh started to network there, he's like, man, there's not very much competition here for digital marketing. So again, if you can go back in a time machine, a guy still in school and another guy on the other side of the world have an idea with a couple of employees to now open up an office in Hong Kong. That would have been so much work and so much money. To kind of give you another example, if 8 years ago or 10 years ago you decided, I want to sell a product, I want to get a product out there and I want to sell it, you would have had to first create a product or find a product and then go to Target and Walmart and Home Depot and wherever else they might sell that product and try to get them to give you a deal on how to sell that product in their place. Or go to like little mom and pops and boutiques and try to sell a couple hundred a month and make a little bit of money. The world has changed. It's evolved. If you haven't noticed, you can now find a product, source it from China, build a website, and sell it to hundreds of thousands of people on Amazon like that. For us to start a digital marketing agency in 2001 in Hong Kong while I'm still running things in the US would have been an unbelievable, it would have required all sorts of travel and money and whatever, but the internet's amazing and I can look at my partner face to face at any moment and we can have a great conversation and move on with our day. I don't have to fly to Hong Kong. So we decided, let's open up a Hong Kong office. And it was not easy. We went through trial and error with like 5 different employees before anything stuck. We tried to close deals, didn't work. We tried to build content, kind of worked. And Josh, again, isn't a sales guy. He's more of a lead generation guy, and he can get people through the door, but we just couldn't find the right person to close the deals. And that's where it was difficult with the time zones, is I couldn't really close the deals because of time zones. So we tried and we tried and we tried, and then we found the right person. His name's Jason Wong. He is fantastic. He's awesome, and he was the guy. We found the right piece to the puzzle, and we started to build Hong Kong. Now we have 12 full-time employees in Hong Kong, and total, if you add up all our contractors and everything, probably 30 people working for us in Hong Kong at any given moment. We work with the Wanda Group, Hotels.com, a bunch of other big companies for all of their Asia marketing, and it's fantastic. Our team there is unbelievable. I think I've got a picture of the Hong Kong team here. Put some faces with a name. So this is a trip when I was there. This is at lunch with the Hong Kong team. It's bigger now. There's quite a few more. When was that? April. But that was one of my trips out there. So we started to build a Hong Kong team. We got going. It was awesome. Now we've got a bunch of clients there. We've grown to, at this point, it's going great. We love it. The people, again, at the core of everything, the people are amazing. Every time I go to Hong Kong, I love going in and sitting on meetings and pitches and working with clients and stuff, but it's all about like the team. How can we build these people up? How can we make them love their job? How can we make them be fulfilled? Moving forward, we saw opportunity in Shenzhen, China, because now these companies were in Hong Kong, we're working, and these companies in China are coming to us and saying, hey, we've got these products that we want to market to the US, we don't know how, and we were getting leads, quite a few leads from China over to our Hong Kong office. And so we said, hey, Shenzhen, China, the hardware capital of the world, where your iPhone's made and all your laptops and everything, your fidget spinner, those are all built in Shenzhen, China. And it just so happens that it's a hop, skip, and a jump from Hong Kong. It's a 45-minute trip. So we decided we have a huge demand in China. It's 2016. Technology is amazing. Let's make it even bigger. So we opened up a Shenzhen office. And now we're working in China. We're trying to get our China marketing down. China's a whole other beast. We're figuring it out little by little. It's a big market there, and we're going to work on that. Got a couple of clients. We've closed about 2 deals in China now, and we're growing. And then one of our employees, our first employee, in fact, that stuck, not Jason, we had actually hired somebody before him. Our first employee that stuck at MWI Hong Kong came to me and said, man, I'm so bummed. My wife works for Canvas, the software we use for classes, Instructure. She works for Instructure, and she just got a job in London, so we have to take it. It's an amazing opportunity. And again, I said, hey, it's 2017. We don't have to cancel it. Let's open a London office. He's like, what? I'm like, yeah, we trust you. You're awesome. You're a hard worker. You have amazing character. You're getting it done. You understand how we work. Let's open up a London office too. So we opened up a London office. And we're working on closing our first couple deals in London as well. I hope it's sticking that conversation and me just being like, let's open up an office. That wouldn't have worked not very long ago. But it works now. We can make it happen. And we do. And it's awesome. I'm going to leave it at that as far as the background of MWI goes. That was a really long background, and I used up most of my time already. But I hope that story, in one way or another, is inspiring in some way. If you have more questions about it, let me know. But the world is an incredible place. If you have an abundance mentality, you see the opportunity ahead of you, and you're the kind of person that will capitalize on those opportunities, you're going to do amazing things. There's no excuse not to. So I want to talk specifically right now about prioritizing your life. So again, I at MWI, this amazing company, this amazing agency that we grow that I love so much, like I said at the beginning, it's not about the amazing SEO work that we do. That's important because it sustains everything else. It's not about the amazing paid search results that we're seeing or the data that we're seeing from the websites. For me, where I sit now is I'm the CEO and I'm overseeing all of the operations for the global stuff, and I'm working on building the business and working with our team. It's about the people. When I hire people at MWI, I ask them a question, or I tell them something, okay? When I tell them this, 2 things happen. One of 2 things happens. They either kind of remain blank stared at me as I'm talking in the interview process, and they're trying to look good because they want a job. They either keep that face, or when I tell them this, they light up, and I can see a light go off in their eyes, and they get stoked, they get excited. The question that I ask, or the thing that I tell them, is at MWI, we try to give our employees, or that was poor language. At MWI, we give our employees the entrepreneurial experience with security. They either light up or they just like, oh, cool. Let's move on to the next thing. But when they light up, I'm like, we got one. Found another entrepreneur that needs a job. Because that's what I want to do. I love entrepreneurship. I love building businesses. I love going into a problem every single day and knowing that that's what's going to be in front of me. There's going to be problems. That's what life's all about, is figuring out solutions to problems. If you want to ever bug me as a student or as an employee, come to me with a problem and in the same breath, don't tell me a solution. It drives me crazy. Why would we just sit there and talk about problems if we're not talking about solutions? Don't get me started on problems and solutions. So, be an entrepreneur. Come be an entrepreneur with some security. What do I mean by security? Well, we'll pay you well. We'll be competitive with your pay. You can work from anywhere in the world that you want. I don't care. Get your job done. It's results driven. It's outcomes focused, not output. If you can find a way to get your job done in 4 hours instead of 40, congratulations, go to the beach. Great work. Got a happy client, you're killing it, fantastic, I don't care. If it takes you 60 hours, try to take a few hours off next week because you worked really hard. But it's all about outcomes and not outputs for us. Be an entrepreneur, find problems, make solutions for those problems, and make your job better than it was when you came into it. We have this conversation. They either light up or they don't. And that's one of the big gauges that I use in the hiring process. The other thing that I talk about a lot in the hiring process that they either light up or they fizzle out is, and I referenced this before, is personal fulfillment. I like to understand what people's goals and ambitions are. I want to understand what their goals and ambitions are, and to the best of my ability, translate those goals and ambitions into a reality, into something that they can tangibly say, I'm going to do this and it's going to translate to my goals and ambitions. That's what I'm doing with my life. And so, what fulfills you? Where do you make your meaning? These are questions I would ask yourself as you're in school and you're figuring things out. What fulfills you? What truly fulfills you? What do you do that you just love? What fulfills you? And where do you make your meaning? What's that little thing that kind of everything you do is because you're making your meaning in this one spot? I would dare say that most people in here are LDS, so we kind of have a lot in common in that regard, right? We kind of understand where we make meaning, what's important to us. Good for us, that's awesome. From there, there's a lot of different branches to that. Like there's different ways you can capitalize on where you make your meaning. Figure out what that is. Figure out what it is that motivates you, what it is that drives you, where it is that you make your meaning. And then after you've done that, now you've got a list of priorities. You've got a list of things that you really like. You really like to do, things that you feel like, okay, if I do this, I'm going to be happy. It's going to make me happy. Prioritize it. Prioritize that list of what makes you fulfilled, where you make your meaning. Okay? So for me, I said this at the very beginning, and that's why I wanted to come back to it towards the end. For me, where I make my meaning is being a good person and trying to be like my Savior, the best that I can. For me, where I make my meaning is being a good husband and a good father to my kids. Other places that I make my meaning is building an amazing culture for my company and providing a great experience for the people that I get to work with every single day. The other thing that gives me meaning is making money. That's not bad, right? As long as it's number 4. I can say that without feeling guilty. Is making money and growing a business. I understand at the end of the day that money and everything is a means to an end for me. And that money and whatever I can do financially in my life is a means to the first 3 things that I just talked about. My people, my company, my family, and my faith. Figure out what it is that drives you. Figure out what it is that motivates you. Translate that into something that you can do, and then prioritize your life accordingly. I would recommend using a priority matrix. A priority matrix is something that you learn about in the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. Stephen R. Covey came up with this. It's great stuff. If you haven't read 7 Habits of Highly Effective People, read it. It's a good book. Priority matrix, basically, I don't have a picture of it because I didn't do a PowerPoint. 4 quadrants. In the top left, you've got urgent and important. I'm going to mess this up, but you get the idea. In the top left, you've got urgent and important. In the bottom left, you've got urgent but not important. The top right, you've got not important and not urgent. And in the bottom right, you've got whatever I didn't say yet. It's important and not urgent. Prioritize things in a priority matrix. As you go throughout your day-to-day, with the big picture stuff that I've talked about, but also with the smaller stuff. How am I going to get my homework done today and also make it to the beach to surf? Priority matrix. How am I going to reach my eternal potential as a son of God, but also have a good time while I'm doing it? Priority matrix. It works with the big picture stuff, it works with the small stuff. Use priority matrices, here's my big word of the day, to figure out your life and get it squared away. I'm gonna end right here. I want to first and foremost share my testimony that I know that God lives. And as a direct result of knowing that God lives, I know that I am a son of God. And he has, just as I have personal ambition, he has ambition for me. And he has ambition for my family. And everything that is going to happen in my life is going to be a direct result of the decisions I make today to either achieve that ambition that I have or not. It's on me. And I know that to be true. Entrepreneurship's an amazing thing. Business is an awesome thing. Prioritize your life accordingly. Remember what's important. And if you do, I think you'll end up in a good place. I think where I found the confidence and drive, everything that I ever accomplish in my life, I'm going to go ahead and chalk up to serving a mission. I know that might seem like a cheesy answer, but that's kind of that's where I would put it. Is like, I figured out how to talk to people. I figured out that there was opportunity for me in the world, and I wanted to capitalize on it. And that was kind of what gave me confidence, I think, in the first place. I would say before my mission, I was not the most confident person, and then after, I felt a little more confident. I've still got a lot to go in that department. But again, I think there's opportunity. There's opportunity everywhere. You either spot it and capitalize on it, or you walk right past it. So when I saw this one, I jumped on it. Any other questions?
What made the guy who worked with you in Hong Kong stick? I think you brought up the 6 that didn't, but what did he do that made you hire him on?
The question was, what did the guy that stuck in Hong Kong, Jason, what did he do that made him stick? He hustles. He works hard, and he works really smart. So where before I was trying to put together like sales strategies and like, let's put together call lists that you can go out, he was doing that before I had time to even talk to him about it. So with the previous guys, it was like, let me help you, let me hold your hand and baby you through this process, which is the worst. And he was like, no, I actually already put together a list, I called it, and I've got 2 meetings tomorrow. He just worked hard, he worked smart, he used the tools at his disposal like LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, social media platforms to find people that were interested in what we did and then to go out and reach out to them and talk to them. And then the other thing that he did is he's a sponge. Everything I taught him and trained him on, when he repeated it back to me, it was perfect. I'm like, oh, dude, I don't know if he has a photographic memory or whatever, but he just like picked it up. And I think that was intentional for him. He's smart. He takes notes and he listens and then he acts. Did you have a question, Phil?
Yeah. Was there ever a time in your life when you let an opportunity like that pass by?
Oof. Was there ever an opportunity, a time in my life where there was an opportunity like that I passed by? Yeah. That's a good question. I don't know. Probably. I mean, I'm going to answer definitely yes, but I don't know what it was because I missed it. There definitely has been opportunities I haven't capitalized on. I can't think of one specifically. Yeah, in the back. Great question. Everybody hear that? So you're talking about me as a missionary, as a service missionary now? Yeah. So what aspect of my business led me to or allowed me to do that? I am. I still run it every day. I've got an amazing team though. So actually when I graduated, Jason and I had talked a little bit about potentially staying. Like what if you stayed because you already have a business, maybe there's an opportunity. And it was like horrible timing. I had 3 or 4 employees and I was so in the thick of it, it just didn't make sense. What's made the difference and allowed for this to happen is hiring amazing people and surrounding myself with people way better than me. So that if I'm doing something like this, like right now, there's an MWI team meeting with our global team where we're all in the face-to-face, and I say, hey, Curtis, can you take that over for me? Because I'm going to be doing something. So there's a fine balance there where they don't feel like I'm abandoning them to come speak to you guys, and so I'm working on that. But it's just hiring and surrounding myself. That's a key part of what I do at MWI is getting people to work with me that are way better than I am. Leaving ego at the door from day one in any meeting, whatever, leaving my ego at the door and saying, I want people better than me, come on. And then letting them be entrepreneurs and figure it out. Does that answer it? Yeah. Cool. Any other questions? Paul.
What's the number one thing that you would suggest to students here in getting started with?
Research. One is what I referenced. And again, it might sound a little cliche, but figure out where you make your meaning. Figure out what motivates you. And then do a little bit of research on what business there are in that realm, and then just do a bunch of research. Because I don't think we utilize the internet for what it really can be valuable for as much as we use it for like restaurants near me, you know. But there's unbelievable content out there to start doing research, and not just do research on what you can do, but then specifically how to do it. You know, there's like how many thousands and millions of YouTube videos on how to do everything. So whether it's an entrepreneurial endeavor or how to make whatever, just do the research and then figure out how and what you want to do and then do it. Is that good? Anybody else?
In terms of SEO, do you have any way to jumpstart your SEO results?
Sorry, to jumpstart? Oh, we might have to talk after, man. That's a long answer. Yeah, a little bit. SEO, search engine optimization by nature it's a long-term process if you do it the right way. But there's definite things that, big wins that you can see pretty quick if you capitalize on things you're just missing and changing those right away.
Last question. How many classes do you teach next semester and how do they sign up?
I'm teaching 2 classes next semester. Just found that out yesterday. Getting upgraded. Entrepreneurship 285. It is a Tuesday, Thursday class. There's 2 of them, one at 9:30 and one at 1:30 to 2:45, I think. So, Intro to Digital Marketing, Entrepreneurship 285. Is that the last question? Okay. Oh yeah, thanks, man. They're also doing we're also doing an advanced digital marketing class. Josh Dalton, who's not here right now, he's teaching that course, and that starts next semester. So if you're taking my class this semester, you can jump into the advanced class next semester, and so on, as we keep going. Good? All right, thank you.